Yo, what's up guys? We're back with another video today, and guys, we're here to talk about what's next for these fighters, UFC 312 edition. I'm gonna be covering all the winners and some of the losers of this whole card, so without further ado, let's get into them. Alright, starting off with the main event, Dricus Du Plessis. He obviously defeated Sean Strickland pretty comfortably actually. Like, the more I think about him, the more I'm like really impressed, because Strickland, he didn't really figure him out like Dricus Du Plessis, to be honest. You guys know what it is. Khamzat Chimaev. This is the fight to make, guys. This is the fight. There is no other option. I don't want to see DDP versus Alex Pereira. If DDP beats Khamzat, okay, then maybe there's some ideas there, but I don't really think so. And for DDP, I think that this is a really, like, this is plot armor versus plot armor right here. This is like the goofiest fight you could ever see. The press conference for these two is gonna go crazy. Like, Dricus Du Plessis is gonna talk about his illness and all that stuff, and Khamzat's gonna be like, "I'm gonna smash you, brother. I'm gonna fucking kill you," and it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be so funny. I'm not gonna lie. And honestly, this is a hot take. I said this in a very old video on my channel, guys. I think that DDP beats Khamzat. I really do. I think Khamzat's good, but I just think that because of how, like, weird DDP is, I think that he can figure out a way to beat Khamzat, if I'm going to be straight up honest with you. But this should be the next fight, and it should probably, I feel like this fight's going to be made in, like, August or something like that. Because, like, DDP didn't take that much damage, but at the same time, he took some decent amount that I feel like he might recover a little bit and just get prepared for the Khamzat fight. So I'm thinking maybe June, July for this pay-per-view, or this fight whenever it happens. So, Dana White, please make this fight. I'm going to crash out if it's Nasruddin Imavov or Alex Pereira. Alright, now we have Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, he lost pretty comfortably to DDP. It was actually, it was really, like, crazy. But who should Strickland fight? Now, there are a few options in my opinion. You could do Kai Barado. You could do, like, I thought maybe Roman Kopylov for some weird reason. But no, I think that the real most logical matchup should be him versus Adesanya 2. It makes sense now, I feel like. Does Adesanya deserve to fight someone up the rankings? No, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He shouldn't. But can you see the, realistically, guys, can you see the UFC making Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland 2 as a narrative like, oh, this is like the real matchup, like this was a fluke for Adesanya losing. Can he get this win back? That's why I could so easily see the UFC doing this. And I feel like that they would make this as a co-main for a pay-per-view or a fight night card. I don't think that they'll do a fight night card for this one, because this is a really big matchup. This is a pay-per-view worthy fight right here, to be honest. These two would obviously be going crazy at each other. Like, I don't think that Sean Strickland doesn't seem to hate him that much, but he will trash talk him. And Adesanya definitely hates Sean Strickland. This would just be a great build-up, to be honest. And as far as, like, when this fight would be made, I could see this one being maybe August or something like that, because I feel like Strickland might take some time off to work on his skills, and Adesanya obviously just got TKO'd in his last fight, so I think he's going to take a while to just, like, reevaluate his next fight. Do I think Adesanya can win this? No, I don't think so. But I see Sean Strickland being Adesanya, like, 9 times out of 10, basically. So I think this should be the next matchup for Sean Strickland, and I do think this would be a really exciting build-up for this one. Alright, now for the co-main event, Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili actually destroyed Tatiana Suarez. That was actually crazy. Like, she got taken down once, and then she took her down for the rest of the fight and dominated her. And I just realized, I didn't mention this in the video, but she, like, Zhang Weili tore up Tatiana Suarez's knee. Like, it was a big cut, and I'm like, that's good. Like, that's a bad cut, especially right at the knee, because, like, you gotta keep moving your legs and all that stuff. That had to hurt really bad for her. But as far as Zhang Weili goes, there's really only one matchup for her. It's gotta be Valentina Shevchenko. Like, because Zhang Weili has beaten everybody in her division at this point. There's literally nobody left for her to fight. And if there is, I don't think that they can beat. I don't think anyone in her division can actually beat her. It's actually insane how Rose Namajunas was able to beat her twice. That's actually insane. But yeah, I think Zhang Weili, and I think that this fight right here, this is a really good fight. I think this is a very close fight. I'm leaning towards Weili, like, for an early predictions if this fight ever gets made. I could see Valentina Shevchenko winning this fight. I think that for this fight, this could be, like, on International Fight Week. I could see the UFC very easily having this on that card. But given how, like, inactive Zhang Weili takes, I feel like she'll probably return next year because she fights like once a year now, to be honest. But this is a really good matchup, and it's very close, to be honest. And this is probably like the only good like women's matchup, like as far as the big ones go, that I'm actually very excited to see if it ever gets made. Alright, now, for Tatiana Suarez, she got beaten up really badly. There were some options I had for her. You could do Mackenzie Dern, and I wouldn't be upset with that one. You could do maybe Amanda Lemos or something like that, someone in the top rankings. I went with Verna. I think that that's more of a reasonable matchup because Verna's actually on a winning streak. She just beat up Amanda Lemos, and she's beating up some good contenders. Whereas Tatiana Suarez, she just got bulldozed by Zhang Weili. And I think that this one's going to be made in like maybe the end of this year because Tatiana Suarez got beaten up bad in that fight. All right, now for Tyson Teixeira, I really think the UFC are just gonna shove him up to the rankings. They're gonna give him someone in like the bottom rankings, and I think a good one would be Jonathan Diaz. I actually think Jonathan Diaz is actually a pretty decent fight, and this is actually a really good scrap. Because Jonathan Diaz, he's had like 3 fights in the UFC, but those have been really exciting. I feel his striking's pretty good, and he's not like fat. He is fat, but you can see in the image he's got a little bit of abs on him. I just think that the UFC are just gonna shove Teixeira and give him like a top ranked fighter or something like that, because for one, he's a heavyweight, and like there's nobody in the heavyweight division. There's like 5 good fighters in that whole division, so they'll probably like fast track him to like the rankings, and I could see him very easily having him fight Jonathan Diaz on a Fight Night co-main. Alright, now for Jimmy Crude and Bellato. Now, I've put these two together because they had a draw. Just rematch the fight, to be honest. I think that's just the most logical fight, because they did that for Jimmy Crude when he had a draw with Enzo Menefield. So I think that they'll do this again for him versus Bellato. I don't know when they'll make this. I really don't know. To be honest, I could see him having this. I could see him putting this on a Fight Night co-main as well in the Apex or something like that, because this just screams an Apex fight. I don't know why, but like I wouldn't mind a rematch because their fight was really exciting, to be honest. And also, isn't it crazy that like Jimmy Crude in his last 3 fights, he's got 1 loss and he has 2 draws. I mean, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? It's honestly pretty funny, but I think that the most logical one is just to have Jimmy Crude rematch Bellato again. All right, now we have Jake Matthews. Now, Jake Matthews called out Neil Magny after he beat Francisco Padro. I don't know why you'd call Neil Magny. I mean, I guess he's a decent name. Like, that is a good win to have, I guess. But, like, you could have called anyone else out. You could have called maybe, I don't know, like Gilbert Burns or Michael Morales or Ian Gary. You could have called bigger names than Neil Magny. Like, come on now. But if he wants to fight Neil Magny, we'll give him Neil Magny, I guess. I think that's, honestly, I do think that makes sense, to be honest. You could have called someone better, to be honest, realistically. You went with, like, the most, like, gatekeeper of the division. Yeah, so I guess they'll have this on, like, a Fight Night co-main, to be honest. Not much I can really say about this one. It's Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny. This fight right here screams a UFC Apex main event for some reason. I know these two are unranked, but still, this just screams like it. This is like the most UFC Apex Fight Night card right here that you could ever make. Alright, now for the greatest lightweight of all time, guys, Tom Nolan. No bias or anything. He obviously beat Borishev. That's a pretty decent win. I think that now we can give him like some really good competition, and I had some ideas. I think that for now, I went with Terrence McKinney. I think that Tom Nolan versus Terrence McKinney would be a good scrap, because Terrence McKinney always brings it. He always tries to knock you out in like the first round, and I think this would be a good test to see how Tom Nolan's chin is, because Terrence McKinney can knock people out. He knocked out Matt Favola. He knocked out a lot of good guys. So I think this is a good test for Tom Nolan's chin. I think this is a good test to see if he can stop Terrence McKinney like going crazy in the first round. I honestly think this is a really good test for Tom Nolan, and I would say do this in like probably I would not mind this putting this on the International Fight Night card. This is a really good fight right here, I feel. All right, now finally for Alexandre Topuria. He obviously beat Cody Thickness. Still one of the weirdest names I've ever heard, to be honest. But good job for him. The more I think about it, the more I rewatched that fight, and I am very impressed by him, because I can't really say Cody Thickness is like anything special, but he looked pretty good, to be honest. Now, as far as who he fights, there are some options you can give him. You could give him Rob Rosa, you could give him maybe Payne Talba, but I went with something very interesting. Listen here. Alexandre Topuria versus Said Nurmagomedov. Tell me I'm not cooking with that one, because this is literally Dagestan versus Georgia. This is going to continue the rivalry between these two countries or regions. I think that Topuria is good enough that he could beat Said Nurmagomedov, but I could see Said Nurmagomedov beating Topuria, so I don't know, man. I think this is a really good fight right here. This is actually a really good fight. I know I keep saying that, but this is. I think this is the best one I've came up with out of all these fights. And I could see them maybe making this one probably maybe in May or June or July or something like that. This could be you could put this on a fight night or a prelim headliner for a pay-per-view, in my opinion, because Topuria is a big name. I will say this again, I'm surprised that they didn't put him on the main card, because if you're going to put unranked fighters, it would make sense to put Alexandre Topuria versus Cody Thickness on that, because those are the most exciting fights of the whole card besides the main event. I think this is a really good fight. I keep saying that. I'm leaning towards Said because he's just more experienced and Topuria hasn't fought that much, but I could see Topuria winning this because he does train with Ilya Topuria, and and Alexandre has had experience before. He's been fighting since 2015. So yeah, I really would like to see this matchup. But guys, that is me covering most of the fighters from UFC 312, giving my ideas of who they should fight, matchmaking them. Let me know what you guys think of this video. Let me know if you guys think that these were the right calls to have. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!